So welcome to everyone who's taking this class on tape later. It's not on tape, who's accessing it later. And we're happy to see everybody. We're going to start on the ground, as we often do, just finding our body, coming into the body with the breath. So make yourself comfortable on your mat, on your back. You can be in full Shavasana with your legs outstretched. Actually, let's everyone start today with your legs bent, feet of the floor, soles of the feet on the floor, and knees facing up. We're all going to start in that position today, because we're going to do a little special attention to the lower back and the sacral area. I had two different teachers, two of my favorite teachers from 3 Ohms, Kat and, who was it? Kat and Minta both did classes on sacral, the stabilization of the sacrum and the lower pelvis, the back. And they had some similar things in there. So I am going to integrate some of that into our class today as well. It was very helpful. And of course, I'm going to do it my way, so it will be a little different, but inspired by my teachers and as they are inspired by their teachers. So find yourself on the ground and just tune into your breath for a moment. I like to let my knees fall together here, that have my feet a little bit wider than my hips and let my knees fall in. I find that's a very nice position for relaxing and grounding. It's really easy on that low back area, and I will talk a little bit more about that. But for now, just pay attention to where your body touches the floor, your feet, your hips, and then there will be a natural curve in your back, the lumbar curve, where your body, there's a little space between you and the floor, and then the big broad area by your shoulders, and another curve, the cervical curve, and then the back of your head. Of course, the arms and the shoulders are on the floor as well. You feel those connecting. And let's connect by tuning into our breath and observing the breath. Where does it feel like it's coming into the body? And how is it on this cool morning? Is that breath warming or cooling? Is there a texture or a taste? Is it smooth or ragged as it enters? That's the smoke. Do you smell or taste the smoke in your breath? Do you feel like there's smoke left in your body from breathing it? Can you feel any of that? And let the breath lengthen. So you have a long inhale and a long exhale. And as you begin these long, even breaths, see if that changes anything, if that helps the body release so more of your body is in contact with the floor, especially around the shoulder area. Can you consciously release as you breathe out in that area and let your shoulders and your upper back settle more to the floor? Perhaps the back of your hands will begin to release and your hands will fall open as well. Becoming aware of all the sensations of your body. Can you feel your heartbeat? Can you feel your pulse? Tune into that rhythm of your heart as well as the rhythm of your breath. Can you feel your digestion stirring along? Maybe it's very quiet, or maybe it's bubbling from your breakfast and perhaps your coffee, just happily percolating along as it does for us all day, every day. How is the back of your throat and your jaw? Check into that area. This is an area that's often linked to the lower back and the abdomen, the hips even. The jaw carries a lot of tension. It's a very, very strong muscle. Proportionally, some people say it's the strongest muscle in the body. How is the jaw? Can you consciously let that jaw go and be soft? Connecting again, body to breath, mind to physical body, spirit to mind and physical body. Bringing it all together here in the sanctuary of our homes, where it can be quiet and safe. Now particularly tune in to this lower part of your back, the pelvis, and take a gentle rock through the hips across the back of the pelvis. Maybe leave that pelvis there as you rock in by pulling your belly down and flattening that lumbar curve. You can take your knees straight up to the ceiling for this. That makes it a little easier. And place your hands over those pointy parts of your hip joint, of your hips, the as is bones. They can, some of us, they stick out. Some of us, they're safely covered by flesh and muscle, but we can find them. They're under there. Feel those bones with your hands and gently run your hands from the back of your pelvis over those bones, as if you can help those bones become closer in the front. And again, you might want to, at this point, tent your knees back together, push your knees together, so you can feel that broadening across that back of the sacrum bone. So nice and stabilizing. This is a stable, strong knitting together. And in yoga, we'll often talk about rotating the legs in or widening the back of the pelvis. This is what we're talking about, trying to achieve this feeling in different poses, because it is very strengthening and stabilizing. And that is a wonderful tool for us to have. Now take your arms out to the sides towards a T, and let just the right, you can wiggle the right leg out, the heel away from the other, and then let that right knee fall in. And now run your hand again along from the back of the pelvis and feel what happened there. Feel how wide, as that bone will have started to lift off the ground a little bit. Let's take that further by rolling on towards the left side, letting that right leg fall all the way in as we roll over to the left side, and take the right arm overhead on the floor, and you can let that arm roll with you, pushing a little bit with that back foot, that right foot, pushing away and onto your side. And feel that stretch along the side of your body, through the knee that's pushing away, the right knee pushing away, up through the right fingers. A little bit of an arch through the back here. opening that shoulder, that right shoulder's doing some work here. And then let's roll back. And take a breath. And let the left leg fall in. And the left arm go high overhead. Straight arm on the floor. This time roll onto the right side as the right knee reaches towards the floor, and feel the stretch on the other side. And what happens to the pelvis in this movement? Where is the breath feeding you? And how does it feel? How does this stretch? You can take this as gently or with as much strength as works for you right now. It's going to be different for different people depending on what you've been doing and how you feel today. And come back. And we'll do the same thing one more time with one breath. Let's roll to the left. And release with an exhale or an inhale. That would be an exhale. And then roll with an inhale to the right. Big inhale and feel what's going on, and then roll back. Now take another full breath with that very beginning of what we were doing there. And let's go back to the place where we were pressing the belly in and flattening that lumbar curve. And from this position, with the knees facing straight up, the belly down, we'll begin our pelvic tilt. And we can exaggerate that a little bit here. First of all, just leave the belly in and feel how much of your back from the coccyx, the tailbone, all the way to the top of your shoulders. How much of that lower back can you release to the floor here? How much contact can you make? Almost making the spine momentarily very flat on the floor. And release that with your inhale. Let that belly rise. The lumbar curve returns, maybe even exaggerates. And you can even tilt your chin back a wee bit and find a little more opening. The inhale, and then the exhale returns us to that very long, flat back. So the pelvic tilt here has a little bit of exaggeration at the very beginning. And check in with your body and feel this. Just feel this motion, a gentle rocking across that pelvis and letting the abs, your strong belly muscles, participate here and become warm. If your house is cool, this will start to bring some warmth into your body. And if it feels good here, you can also add the arms rising overhead and your back of your palms coming to the floor and returning with the exhale. So with the inhale and the belly rise, they rise, your arms can rise overhead. And with the exhale, they can come all the way back to the floor. Feeling the motion in these shoulders, checking in with how the shoulders are with this up and down motion. That shoulder joint is a very flexible, shallow joint. Your arms can do many, many different motions. How does this simple up and down motion feel today? What's the range? Some of you will bring your palms all the way to the floor, and some of you won't. Some of you will have more limits in the shoulders, especially those of you who are muscular or have that very strong build, or maybe have worked very hard with your shoulders and your shoulders are stiff and strong from that work. Even whatever motion you find, whatever opening and release is just right for you. Doesn't have to look like anybody else's. One nice thing about now being in the studio, we're not comparing ourselves, not to the person next to us. And then if you want to, let's not add the pelvic rise here. Let's keep it really stable. And then do one more and bring the arms all the way to the base of your back to the ground, and take a breath. And we'll do a little bit more work with the shoulders here since we got the start of the pelvis, but let's open those shoulders in one more direction by taking the hands into a wide open T position. And then doing that same roll to the side, but this time take the hand, the top hand towards the bottom hand. And maybe even stretch a little beyond that top hand by pushing that top hand on the floor past the bottom hand. Just as much as feels good, as much as you find a comfortable stretch. And then let that hand trace the bottom arm back and across the body, and we'll do the same thing over to the other side. You can push with the outside foot, take the hand across. Some of you, if you have a very tender neck here, you may want to have something under your neck for support. So that's a consideration for people whose necks are feeling cranky, or you know your neck tweaks easily. Let's do this a few more times. Roll all the way over across the hips and the shoulders. Feel the stretch in your shoulders, and then trace it across the arm, back across your body to the open position, and then take the other arm across and reach past the bottom hand. I don't have quite enough room here to adjust a little bit and feel what's going on. And of course, you probably will find some differences in the sides of your neck and the shoulders. And I can really feel those differences today on one side. Never know exactly what's going on until you get in here and explore a little bit. And hopefully it feels like a good release, like you can finish there. And one more little shoulder release. Let's take the hands across to grab the elbows and make the rectangular position. And then just take the elbows from side to side. You can roll with them a little bit if you want, just a little bit more work here. And it perhaps a different stretch across the back of the arms. So now those arms have gone up and down, and they've gone across, and we'll get them in circles before we're done with this. And finish up with that motion and come to the center, release your arms. And returning to the pelvic area, let's bring the knees in. Now start with the knees not all the way into your body. Where do you find the flattest position across that sacrum? At what height are your knees? For me, it's about here. Could be very different for you. And you'll find probably that the bone, as you're exploring the bone, isn't perfectly flat. You may feel like there's a little bit of a curve in your sacrum, and you hit different parts of it with your knees at different heights. So there's an anatomical revelation for you. And let's take knees in circles with our hands, looking for the rim of that sacrum bone. And sometimes we've been using the clock face analogy, as if your tailbone is high noon, one hip is 3 o'clock, the top of your sacrum is 6 o'clock, and then the other hip would be 9 o'clock, and rolling around the clock face. And perhaps that's a different way to look at it. If it's hard to find in your particular anatomy, if it's hard to feel the edges of the bones, you can still trace them by making the motion, even if they don't actually feel like they're making contact with the floor. And then you can go counterclockwise and reverse those circles and feel the other motion. That way you won't walk crooked when we finish. Let's place those hips back, the feet back on the floor now. And with the hips, feet at hip width and firmly planted on the floor, nice flat back of the pelvis, let the right leg fall out to the side. Doesn't have to release all the way. Probably won't go to the floor. And you don't have to take it to the full extent of your release either. I have my other hand on my other hip bone, my left hip bone, holding it down to the floor so I can get the release in that hip joint rather than rolling. And if I let mine release all the way, I get a little tweak there. I get a little cramp, so I don't want to go all the way, and you may not either. Then place the same hand, for me it's the right, as the leg that's out, and press into that thigh, in the middle of the thigh, and press the leg back against the pressure of your hand, and feel the inside muscles of that leg light up. These are part of the muscle group that do that pelvic stabilization for us. So here we are exploring them and bringing them to life this morning. Now, continue to push down, but let your leg be stronger and come up against the pressure of that hand. Giving yourself this little isometric work, pressing your hand, and then letting that knee returning to the top of its arch. So both knees are up. And we'll do this a couple of times on each side. Let's stabilize the right hip, or the opposite hip from the one that was just working, onto the ground, and let the opposite hip, for me it's the left. If you started with the right, it'll be the left, fall out to the side. And see what the motion and the action and the openness of that side is. Again, it's probably a little different. Then with that knee still bent and the outside edge of your working foot will be on the floor there, press into that leg, onto the thigh, and feel the inside muscles of the thigh open and alive as they press back into your hand and bring that thigh up against the resistance of your body. We'll do it on each side. Let's go back to the right and press into the right and pull that thigh up, working against your hand and your shoulder and your own strength. And then let the left fall open, and the same procedure, holding the other side steady. The left thigh works back against the hand, coming in. One more time on each side, right, and pull it in against the pressure of your hand. And the left, pulling in against the pressure of your hand. Let's stretch the legs long now, and you might want to do a little wiggle here after that work, a little bit different work. And while we're here on the ground, let the legs fall open. Your feet fall away from each other. Then place your hands on the inside of your thighs. I hope everybody's arms are long enough there. I have long arms, and sometimes I ask people to do things that don't work. So your hands may be more up towards your hip joints. Anywhere from the hip joints towards the top inside of the thighs, wherever your hands reach. Feel what's going on there. Now see if you can activate those same muscles, those inside muscles of your thighs, and roll the legs in as if you had blue jeans on and you're rolling those inseams towards the ground. And then let the legs fall out. We'll try that one more time. Toes relax towards the ground, and then let the legs roll in and really feel the activation, not so much in the glutes, which also work in this part of the exercise, but rolling in through the interior of your thighs. Now stretch the legs long, press them into the ground, and feel that interior rotation. And then check in with the back of your pelvis. I hope you can access that connection, how that action of rolling the legs in a little bit, using those interior muscles and strengthening them, activating them, broadens that back of the pelvis and the sacral area and makes it feel very strong and stable. Isn't that interesting? Okay. enough with the anatomy work, right? From here, well, keep your legs long in the floor. Let's do a long body stretch and take the crescent moon shape to one side. I'm going with legs and arms to the right first. You can come with me and hold on to the left hand with the left wrist with the right hand, and really stretch the outside of your body all the way along that long curve. Hoping we get a little bit of each kind of motion in the spine before we come all the way to standing. We'll do a little bit of work sitting and also on our knees. We're doing a fairly grounded class today. I don't want to do a really vigorous deep breathing class during this smoky time. Then release and take the stretch to the other side, making the crescent moon on the floor, really fanning open those ribs and letting them release whatever they need to release. Sending your breath energy there, helping them cope with whatever they're dealing with. And release. And let's come to hands and knees. You can roll over, or if you're feeling roly-poly today, you can roll along your spine. Come all the way up. And you notice we haven't done our abs yet, but we'll get to that, no worries. Come on to hands and knees, and of course, a blanket under the knees is a lovely accessory. Keep those bony knees nice and comfortable. Find your hands wide on the floor. Let's start by walking the hands forward into puppy pose. So we're stretching the hands forward and forward and forward into the front half of a downward dog. You can release the head and the chest. Now feel the shoulders rolling, the same motion as if you were taking your elbows towards each other. So the shoulder blades are rolling kind of around the body and off the back. It's the opposite motion from them pulling together on your back. So the shoulders are rolling in an open way. Well, that's not a good description. The shoulders are rolling like the elbows are pulling together as you do the front of a downward dog. And it gives them a different release. And different way than we've moved the shoulders so far today. So let's see what's going on in here. And while you're here, take 3 long breaths and feel the belly really pull up as you exhale. Inhale, the belly comes big, even in this bent position. Exhale, and the belly pulls way up. That's our belly lock. Inhale. Exhale, and the belly sucks way up into your body with that breath. Exhale, it's the belly lock or the breath lock. One more time. And then let's walk those hands back, and we are going to come to a half plank or a full plank. And half plank, you take your hands maybe 2 handprints farther and relax the pelvis, the hips down into a straight line from the knees to the head. And that is good work for your abdomen. You feel that work right away. And if you have more to give, you can take your toes, roll them under, and come all the way to plank. We're going to do a 2-minute plank here. And if you can do 2 minutes, that's excellent. If you're working towards 2 minutes, that's excellent too. And you can come back and forth between the full plank or the knee plank. You can take a rest on either, and you can stop when you need to. Also, if the full plank is hard on your wrists, you can come down onto your elbows into forearm plank. So you have actually have 3 plank choices. And to help you keep working really feel your heels pushing back so that your legs can take some of this load. Feel how strong your legs are. This is working both your belly muscles and the back of your legs. All right, we're coming towards 1 minute now. So 1 minute is excellent. And if that's how much you're doing today, which is going to be finished right now, that is super. Come down and take some breath work or whatever you need to stretch to feel together. If you're hanging in with me, congratulations. That is also excellent. We have a ways to go. And you're always welcome to come back and add a few seconds on the back of your work. There's that whole, I've talked about it in plank before, but there's that whole set of muscles around your sides that really compresses and holds the abdomen. And one way to find them lighting up is to feel like you can compress your waist, like pretend that your muscles are a corset and activate those corset muscles. And feel how that helps. Feel how that gives you a new surge of strength. We only have 4 seconds left for 2 minutes. So that's it. Put your knees down. Congratulations to all those of you who worked and strengthened those abs muscles and the whole rest of the body. Maybe you can do one more tonight for me when you're resting or relaxing. Just give me one more plank today. So from here to release that, let's come forward. We're going to come to the belly, but I'd like you, before you get down there, to find your block or your block substitute, which could be a towel or a book or a giant can of yeast, whatever you have, your block. And you can take the blanket away from your mat for a moment and place this block between your feet. I'm going this way, between your feet. So like between your ankles, behind you, and press your ankles into that block. And now we're going to come onto our bellies. So from here, you can come forward the easy way, or you can come with a little bit of a half push-up. So find yourself on the ground. Settle your hips, rock back and forth. Now feel those feet and that block, and press the tops of your feet into the ground and the sides of your ankles into the block. Really press, really feel those legs alive. Your knees may even pop off the ground from this work. Yeah, and then release it for a moment. And take a deep breath and send it into those legs. That's the aliveness of the legs we talk about. And if you can do this one more time, take the same action, pressing your ankles into the block. See if you can access those same muscles, those interior rolling muscles of the thighs that we were using before on the backs in the ground. So if you can feel those light up. And the reason we do this is as we begin these gentle back bends of a Sphinx pose or a baby cobra, though we are protecting that lower region of the spine where the sacrum is by keeping it broad and open and strengthened with these muscles. So as we begin these gentle back bends, we're using the upper back and not taking it deep into the area that doesn't want to be tweaked that way. Okay, so settle yourself down. Let's come to Sphinx first. So elbows bent on the ground and the belly is lifted. You don't have to do the full fierce pressure on the block, but keep holding it. Keep the legs alive. And with an in-breath, lift the sternum. The back of the neck is long, the head isn't cranking back. If you need to adjust, you can take your arms wider or walk your elbows forward to find a little bit gentler curve of the body. Then feel this gentle back bend, the lift, the opening of your heart. If the word back bend is scary, let's substitute heart opener, this gentle heart opener. As you look, you may be looking at the horizon, or it may be more comfortable to look 3 or 4 feet in front of you on the floor. Either way is fine. Just depends on your anatomy and your neck. Now check in again with the legs. And while you're here, try lifting the block with your feet. And then let it go down. Just making sure you still have that thing. All right, one more breath in Sphinx. And then lower to the ground and place your head on your crossed hands, rock back and forth across the back of your, the lower pelvis there. We're going to do 3 cobra push-ups here. And for the cobra push-ups, your hands are under your shoulders. And it's the same lift of the sternum as we were doing in Sphinx. Now, if Sphinx was plenty for you, if you were found that a challenge, stay with Sphinx and just come into the Sphinx pose. Give yourself 3 breaths, and if you can hold it that long, that's great, and come down. For the cobra push-up, if you want to try that, hands are under the shoulders. Again, I'm holding the block and using my legs. Lift the shoulder blades up towards the head, and then take them onto your back and let that motion with your in-breath bring you slightly off the ground. And with an exhale, turn your head to the right or the left. Inhale and rise up. Feel the heart lift forward and up, and exhale down, other ear to the ground. One more time, lift up and ear to the ground. Now, since I was doing the ear work, we have to go up one more time. So it's 4 baby cobras, and then come down, ear to the ground. Take your head forward, return your arms in front of you, rock back and forth across the pelvis. Take a deep breath. Breathe into the back of your sacrum, the back of your hips. Again, take the hands under the shoulders, push yourself up, and let's come back to child's pose for a moment. Take a breath here. You can always stick a block or a blanket under between your heels and your hips if child's pose is awkward for you. And breathe in child's pose. And then let's rise up. We're going to find a seat on the ground. So you can make that work however is best for you. I'm going to use a block underneath. Well, first I want to show you a couple of variations here in case you are having troubles with your seat. If you find that your sitting on the ground is uncomfortable, your knees are way up or stressed, you can use any of several props to put under your knees and hold your knees up here. So I have a blanket on one side and a block on the other. And some people even like to roll up a blanket and take it around their feet and tuck it in there. And I don't know if you can see that very well. I use the lighter colored blanket. It might show better on the screen. Roll the blanket up as long ways until fat burrito shape, and then take it around your feet and tuck it in under your knees. And that gives you some really nice knee support here if the cross-legged position is uncomfortable. So whatever works to find a comfortable seat. You can always take this seat as well if your knees just are not up to it. We'll call this the cowboy seat. So whatever is comfortable for you, find your seat and take a moment to align yourself, reorient to gravity here. You might want to take some shoulder shrugs. Then, as you are ready, with your right hand, we're going to reach into a little bit of a side bend. So you may want to block here. I think most of us at this height will be able to go to the ground because we are stretching this side. Stretching this side. Take the hand over the head. Now you're going to keep this hip, the left hip, if you're stretching to the right, the left hip is really grounded. So the stretch comes all the way from the seat overhead. This is the same crescent shape we did on the floor, except only from the hips up. Now from here, with that bent arm leaning over, let go of the head. Let the head relax. Feel the head let go so that you get this stretch over to the side with the lean over to the side. And you can take this hand away from the up position and let it be the continuation of the neck stretch. One of my teachers did this variation last week, and I thought it was very helpful. So let's see if this works for you people as well. From here, there are more adjustments to make. You can roll the top shoulder in or out, just checking for what gives you the stretch you need. Make sure that the sitting hip, the hip on the outside of the stretch, is really well grounded. And when you find the adjustment, you can also look down with your head or roll your head towards the front. Sometimes that adjustment is very helpful. See if you can keep both shoulder blades moving back and that alignment where your head, even if you move your head, what you're looking at, you're still keeping your head in line, your ears in line towards your shoulders. And feel that stretch. And whatever you find, whatever you can access, let your breath flow there. Let your breath be that river we've been talking about, the gentle, slow river working away at the log jams and the clogs, helping the water trickle through there so there's good circulation and flow. The energy through that deep, tense muscle, hard-working, overused muscles. And let your bottom hand lift that head up so we don't have to work that muscle right away. And take a breath. We'll take the stretch to the other side, starting with a side stretch. So take your supporting hand to the ground or block. And then let while the hip stays heavy and grounded, the top arm reaches way up and over, way up and over. And rather than hunching forward, we're rolling the chest open. And from here, we relax the neck. Let the neck go. Let the neck be loose. And then release that arm to find a long line from the tip of your fingers through your shoulders and the trapezius muscle up your neck. Make whichever adjustments by rolling the shoulder, adjusting the head are helpful to access that stretch. Then pour your breath. Imagine your breath can be really, truly breathed into that muscle rather than your lungs. Let that prana, the breath energy, the energy of life, help you open and release. And the bottom hand is going to assist the head so we don't stress that muscle just after we try to let it go. If you want to reverse the set of your feet, this might be a time for that. We'll do a corkscrew stretch here too, a lateral stretch, so that we can have the spine really warmed up as we begin to come all the way to standing. So the very simple stretch, you open your arms up with an in-breath. Let's take a couple of breaths through the body as we do this, through the center, just to begin with. So inhale up and release through the center. We'll do this one more time. And this time as we release, turn to the right and see what you can find in terms of stretch. You may want to take your block with you so you can place it behind you for that right hand. You may be able to find a little bit of pressure by pressing on the opposite knee, or you may be able to reach all the way over to the knee on the right and hold the thigh and pull yourself around a little bit. Let your in-breath bring you tall, long spine, and your out-breath stretch with the belly, starting at the belly and taking you around, finding the extent of your stretch today. Accessing all those organs on the inside and giving them a little different compression and activation. And with an exhale, return to the front. Just take a breath in the center. Then raise your arms with an inhale and take that stretch to the other side. Again, you can find some work by pressing on the outside knee, or perhaps the knee on the inside of the stretch, and lift up so you have a nice, tall, long spine. We want the full length of the spine to get the benefits of this twist, which can't happen if we're hunching over. And if you find some discomfort here, you can ease back on the twist. Just come to the edge of the place that if there's a part of your back that's not comfortable with this, don't go into that place of pain. Go to the place where the stretch feels appropriate. You know you're releasing, but it's not causing you real discomfort. Just that wonderful sense of release and stretch. And let's release there. Let's do 3 shoulder shrugs together all the way up. Take those shoulders way back and then run them, let them drip down your back. Come up and down the back. And one more time, all the way up to the ears. Big circular motion with the shoulders. And while we're here, let's do the same motion with our hands we did lying down, but this time you can reach all the way behind. Place your hands flat on your sacrum and then run them with some pressure, if you can, around the front. Find those bones. Imagine you can push those bones together. And do that, let's do that 3 times. Really press into the sacrum and then feel that circular belt holding you and connecting you as you knit those bones together, and with that broadness and strength in the back of your pelvis. And when you've found that motion, sit for a moment and see if you can connect to that feeling without the hands doing the work. And this time, we are not accessing the power of that interior rotation of the legs. This time, it's all the back and the belly muscles that are making that happen. And release that. And let's make our way all the way to standing. So, and work that any way you want. I'm going to roll forward onto my knees, take the block out of the way. Let's take both. If you have two blocks, some of us do. Let's see, okay, my head's cut off. I'm going to adjust the screen a little bit. If you have two blocks, that's wonderful. Have both of your blocks handy. If you have one block, that's great. Have that block handy. And if you have no blocks, well, we'll deal with that. And if you have block substitutes, we'll use those as well. Let's take those to the front of our mats. Have our blocks there. And before we even come all the way to, as we begin standing, look around your room and see if you have a place we can do wall dogs together. We haven't been doing those because we don't have the same setup. Now, for me, I can come right here, press my hands in, but I think I'm going to take a chair and show you with a chair instead, because others of you may have to just grab a chair for this. We do wall dogs in the studio all the time at the Senior Center. But if you haven't done that with us, or it's been a while, if you have a real wall, you're going to place your hands at hip level and step back from the wall with your hands pressing in. You can have your elbows slightly bent if you need to. And you're working to find this long L shape with your body. So you're bent at the hips, and the back is very straight, and the feet are directly underneath you. You're pressing into the wall, or for some of us here, we're pressing, if you have a chair, you press down a little bit into the chair so you don't knock it over. And then really pull back. Press the arms long and pull back at the same time. Get this long, long stretch through the back. And you try bending your knees, because sometimes when people are having trouble with this, if it feels awkward or difficult to get that full extension, bending your knees, just like you would in a downward dog, allows you to move those sitting bones up and back further. So find this wall dog wherever you can, and take 2 more breaths here. Feel that long stretch through the arms, and the work in the shoulders. You can let your head drop if that's comfortable for you. To come out, you just grab the belly, do a little bit of a roll towards standing, and walk towards your wall or your chair. Come to the wall or the chair, take a moment to wiggle and integrate. Check your shoulders. This work has the same motion I was talking with the shoulders, where the shoulders are actually, rather than coming to the back of the reaching back, they're rotating forward. So when you're in this shape on the wall, your shoulders are rotating forward, so the shoulder blades are wrapping around the side of your body. Rather than trying to keep them flat on your back, they're rolling around the side of your body. Correction that's often made to if I was there, I would come and take my hand and roll your shoulder open this direction, and you would get that feeling. I can't do that. We can't do that right now because of the situation, but imagine someone's there doing it for you as we do one more. So find your position and either press into the wall or slightly down on your chair. As you step back, wiggle the feet all the way back, and let your shoulders, the shoulder blades kind of roll, your elbows rolling in, and the shoulder blades wrapping onto the sides of your body. And then that long push out through your hips, out through those bony sitting bones, up and back. And add that bend in the knee if that makes it more accessible for you. 3 breaths here, or if you need to come out, of course, you come out when you need to. Nice. And then the strong belly helps you lift up and walk towards your prop. You don't have to move the wall. We'll move the chair out of the way. And then we'll come back to the front of our mats and find mountain pose. So let your feet be strong on the floor. You might want to take your hands to the back of your pelvis again. Do that motion, wrapping around to the front. See if you can light up those inside rotating muscles on your thighs. Take your shoulders up and back, and then line your ears up into the beautiful, strong mountain. Take a breath in mountain, then take another breath. We're going to step back into a lunge. I would like you to have both blocks at the front of your mat and have your blanket handy in case, because we will come down to a low lunge, and some of you may want to work all the time in a low lunge. So, okay, here we are, ready, hands on hips, and let's take the right leg back first into lunge. Now I have my toes bent under. There are 2 variations here. If right away you're going, this is not good for me, then you can, if the problem's in the back foot, if your foot does not make that undertoe motion, you can rotate the heel down and come into a warrior 1 footprint instead. And if it's just too much energy, you need a softer, more grounded practice today, you can come down to your knee and pad your knee if you need to, and have your Anjali Asana on your knee, low lunge. I'm going to demonstrate with a high lunge, but figure the warrior 1 footprint and the low lunge are also available. Bring the arms up, all the way up. And that motion may exaggerate this stretch along the front of your thigh. Try straightening that back heel and then really pressing back. And then with bend the back knee and bring the arms down to cactus. And straighten and press that heel way back. And then come down to cactus. And one more time, press up with the arms, back with the heel, and straighten. Come back to cactus. Going to lower, everybody's going to come down to low lunge. So you may want to put your blanket on the mat ready for you. You can take your hands to your front thigh or lean forward to the blocks and slowly lower that back knee to the ground. Joining those of you who started in low lunge, you'll find the same pose, the same crescent shape from the back heel all the way up through the arms, reaching the arms slightly back. They can be open to accommodate your shoulders if need be, pressing the back top edge of the head up towards the ceiling. And breathe. Feel that stretch from the back toes up through the fingertips. And see if you can add, while you're here, that sensation of the broad back of your sacrum, the wrapping around feeling, the work of the interior muscles in your thighs, helping to stabilize, helping your balance. Then take the hands back to your blocks or your block substitutes or the floor. And take a deep breath. And let your weight come forward into the depth of the lunge so that you get the big stretch along the front of that back leg, way up high. The psoas muscle and those flexing muscles that lift, the flexors that lift that thigh. And then we will rock back onto the knee, weights on the knee. Take the bent knee, take your blocks along with you for the ride, and we will straighten the front leg and come into the half Hanuman, which stretches the back of the opposite leg. So keeping your back long, allow your chest to fall forward towards the front, as if you could lay your whole torso down long on your front leg. And of course, we're not at that position, but that's imagery helps us not to hunch over, because we're just getting mostly at the lower back and some of the upper back muscles that can be overstretched if you hunch. So you want that long, long feeling. In fact, you can experiment with that sensation of sending that back sitting bone away, just as we do in downward dog. Helps you to keep that long, long back. You can relax your head if you want to. And release that nice long stretch. Indulge one more time in the deep opening in the front. And we are going to come back to standing. So you may want to walk the blocks forward and press into the blocks with your front foot in between, back toes turned under, as you step forward to the front of the mat again and return to mountain pose. Take a moment to compare your legs. We stretched the back of one leg, the front of the other. We worked different sides of each leg. How are things feeling now? Breathe again. Let's take the arms up into the smoky sky and bring nothing but the sunlight back to our hearts. 2 more times. Deep breath in. Last time. Then hands on hips, and we will step back. I missed one thing I wanted to do. All right, never mind. We're going to come back to it. We'll do it on this side. I'm actually taking my blocks to the opposite side. You don't have to do that. I just feel like it gives you a better view of the work if you're looking at the open side of my working leg. So I'm taking my left leg back this time. I have my right leg back the first time. So the opposite leg goes back as when you were working the first side. And again, you can change to warrior 1 or all the way down if the standing work in Anjali Asana is not comfortable for you. Here, take your hands again and take them around, pressing into your body, finding those hip bones knitting together at the front. And then lift the arms and find that beautiful crescent shape in crescent lunge. You can also tune in to those interior thigh muscles. What's going on? Can you light them up and keep that work going to protect your lower back, to strengthen your balance? This time, let's take the arms back into a Superman cape. Press the heel back. And then wrap around in a deep hug and bend the back knee. Press back through the heel and open. And with the exhale, if you can remember, take the opposite arm on top. One more time. Back, open your heart, and then embrace your worthy and sacred self. From here, we'll come down. You can put your hands on your blocks or your hips or your thigh, lower down till the knee hits the ground. And we'll take a moment to find the same pose with the knee on the ground. 2 breaths here. Keep those shoulder blades working back. Belly is lifted. Then you can take your hands forward onto your blocks and let your weight fall onto that front foot more, onto the front knee, and find the stretch of your upper thigh, way up by the front of the hip joint there. And enjoy that. Those places get so tight from sitting, and we all have been sitting. Many of us have been sitting. And opening them up is a wonderful release. Then let's take our hands with the blocks a little bit back so we can take the weight onto the back knee, straighten the front foot, which for me is the right, which is the opposite side from what I did last time, and find a nice long straight back. Then release the weight forward, exploring what's going on this side. And we want to find that stretch, particularly looking for the stretch along the back of the hamstring through the thick, strong middle part, rather than at the knee or the attachment at the knee or the attachment at the hip joints. Some people find this a lot through their calf muscles too, and that's fine. The only thing we're looking for is no pain and more in the center of the muscles than where the muscles attach. Use your breath to really unjam this log jam. The hamstrings also get very tight, and it's critical to keep them loose, to keep the energy flowing through the long back of your legs, and also to prevent injury. Hamstrings tend to tear when they're really, really tight, so having that flexibility is a great protection for you. And with an in-breath, lift yourself up, and let's come forward one more time into the stretch on the other leg and see what's going on now after we've worked this one a couple of times, and the other one has been through the whole process now. Then we'll return to standing at the front of the mat. This time, bring your blocks forward and come to Uttanasana with a flat back, forward stretch with a flat back. I guess I need to come a little higher. I'm looking myself in the mirror. And this, for those of you who do not indulge in forward do not want to get your head too low below your heart, is where you stay. And others, if you feel safe and confident coming forward, relax forward into Uttanasana. You can bend your knees a little or a lot. You can hold your elbows and let your head drop. This is an inversion pose. The blood is coming into your head. And it's also a great stretch for the back of your legs. And it should be a strengthener too, because you need to be pulling up on your hamstrings and using those muscles for balance. As you breathe in, lengthen the back. As you breathe out, compress your belly, pull in your pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, and find a little bit more depth. Then everyone come back to the flat back position and pull your belly in as you rise. You can roll up through your back or rise with a flat back, whichever is most comfortable. Press into the feet, hold the belly and lift up. And let me check our progress here. Let's all come to the front. Let's come facing forward into goddess pose. So you can rotate your toes out slightly, make sure your knees are out in line with the toes. And actually, let's go more towards horse than goddess. I think of goddess as the more lifted version from this foot stance, and the horse position is the more relaxed, where you come a little deeper and let your weight fall forward with your hands on your knees. Now we'll take a moment here just to explore. We have been working those interior thighs, so this may feel like a stretch for them today. And that's fine, that's actually probably good. So lift up, just as lifted, even though you're using your belly, your hips are going back. And from here, let's rotate the shoulders. Let's rotate to one side. Let the right shoulder dip down. See if you can keep the arms straight in this position. And the hips are also very stable, so that your rotation is from the belly, then reaching all the way up to the spine, to the shoulders and the head. And in breath brings you back forward, and ready for rotation to the other side. Let's do one more time on each side with one breath. Rotate. Long twist of the spine. And another long twist of the spine. Then with a breath, rise up. And I had one twist on the floor that we didn't do. So let's step to the front of the mat. And I'm going to step my left foot back because I'm at this edge of my mat, so you can see. No, actually, I'm going to step my right foot back. Sorry. I'm going to step my right foot back, and I'm coming to the lunge again. And again, you have your choices in the lunge, where you want to be. You can stay here. I think I'll demonstrate it on the ground. So I'm going to come to the floor, and we're going to lift the arms into the lunge. And this can be done in with the knee up. And I'm going to place one block. One of my blocks is going to be on the inside of my front foot. Then opening the arms, I'm going to take my right hand, which is the opposite from the foot I have forward, onto the block and twist open towards that front knee. And that's a little high for me, so I'm going to bring it down. Yours may look different than this. And you may not be able to twist real far. Might be quite a stretch across the ribs. So come to an area that feels comfortable for you. It feels like a good stretch with no pain. And then release that hand down. And we'll come back to standing. So weight comes onto that front foot, back foot comes to meet it. Rise up. And take a full breath in standing. And hands on hips, step the opposite foot back. This time I'm going to demonstrate it standing, demonstrate the twist standing. So I'm going to place the block in the same place on the inside by my front foot. First of all, I'll bring the arms up into the full Anjalayasana. And then the bottom arm is coming down to the block, and I'm twisting towards that front knee. I'm reaching my shoulders back so that the shoulder blades are flat on my back. And the stretch comes out from the waist. The hips remain in the same position. And then the hand releases to the floor, and we can step forward. Let's do one more forward fold, with a flat back or a full fold if that's comfortable for you. And rise up. And time to do a little balancing work on one foot. So we will come to the wall for that, or your best support system. And since we did that work on the floor with the inside of the leg, we're going to do a little bit of a variation on that with tree pose. So to begin with, as usual, you're going to stand by your support, and the weight is going to come into the side that's closest to your support. So the foot away from that gets free. And let that foot rotate out and in, and feel the knee is rotating in and out. So my knee is bent. It's like really dark in here today, hard to see. So rotate in and out. You have to start wearing white pants so you can see everything. And feel that same work as we were doing on the ground with this interior muscle. Then choose the height of your tree today, at the ankle, at the calf, or up towards the groin. And press the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot to find your balance. You can start with hands on hips. You can always have your hand on your support system. You can try prayer position, and you can experiment with lifting the arms in the tree. And breathe. Let all those small twitches work to help with your balance, and let the breath flow through your body as you work the balance. Feed your mind and your muscles. I'm going to come down with the hands first if possible, and then the leg, and we'll switch to the other side. Go through the same sequence where the inside leg, the balance becomes very strong. The outside leg becomes light. Again, experiment with rotating that hip. I'm coming forward so you might be able to see better. In and out. And really feel, as you do that, the motion of those interior muscles. Even the one on the opposite leg will be working. Feel that rotation from the hip. Hips are stable. It's just that one thigh in the joint that's working. And then find where you want your tree to be today. You can have the toes on the floor for the kickstand variation, or anywhere but right on the knee, not pressing right into the knee. And let the strength of your legs work with each other, pressing into each other. And then see if you can get those shoulders back and the head back into a really nice alignment. Using your focal point, raise the arms however you wish, however works for you today. I think I might do a cactus on this side. Then let your breath run through the tree. Hands come in, and then the foot releases. And let's do one more wall dog before we come to the floor. So I'm bringing my chair back. You can step to your wall or your counter, whatever is working for you. Place your hands on your support for the wall dog. Step those legs back. Press those hips way back. Rotate the shoulders so that the shoulder blades come wrapping around towards the front of your body. And use your breath here. Feel this nice length. Feel the strength of your feet on the floor. This beautiful stretch and length through your body. With the next in-breath, bring yourself up and forward and make your way to the floor, wherever that is comfortable. Going to come onto the floor, and I'm going to do the figure four stretch. So my feet are on the floor, and I'm going to take my right bent knee over my left knee and press that top thigh and knee away from my body, looking for a stretch in the upper back of your glutes. Now, you may also feel it today in the hip joint because we've been working that joint so much. So that may also be talking to you and saying, I'm a little tired. And if so, you can maybe release a little bit and make sure you're not really stressing that joint after all the work, because that's not what we're looking for. And you can reach through to find more pressure to bring into finding the back of your leg. Also taking the hips back and forth across your body to find that stretch, looking for that deep glute stretch. Up at the top. One more breath here. And release. And we'll switch sides. See if you can have your shoulder blades relaxed on the floor as you do this. Tucked under, just as you would coming into Shavasana. And experiment with where you're finding the best stretch for yourself today. You can reach through if that's appropriate. Bring the legs towards the body. Slightly move back and across, looking for a stretch. And find the best place to send your breath. Nice sensation of release and opening. We're coming into Shavasana now, so if there's another pose you need, there's my dog coming into the picture. If there's another stretch you need to settle yourself and be ready to relax, then please do it. You might find happy baby and see that again. How does that sacral area feel after all this attention today? Or you may need a lateral twist, whatever works for you. See what you need. And I recommend a folded blanket under the knees that will help you really relax the front of the legs. You may want to give yourself if your house is cool with this little bit of a switch in the weather, you may want to have a blanket over yourself or your jacket on again. And as you lie down, when you're ready, just take your fingers and explore a little bit around the front of your as-is bones and your hips there and see if anything's going on and send it some love. Maybe the palms of your hands can rub in there, saying hello and thank you. And you can take one more time your hands towards the back of your sacrum and bring them around the front for that opening motion. But let your feet fall out as they usually do. Let the feet relax to the sides. Take your shoulder blades under your body so that they can be flat on the floor. Take a moment to wiggle anything that needs wiggling or stretch your hands and feet before you let them relax. Pay attention to your jaw and the tension in your jaw. See if you can maybe wiggle or breathe that loose. Begin to fall into the floor. I have a short reading for you at the beginning here. It's just part of a poem that I thought was very nice for our dry, smoky day. It's from Mary Oliver. I'm not sure which poem it's from. And then the dry earth begins to anticipate. And then I fall to my knees. And then the flowers cry out, and the wind breaks open its silver countries of rain. It's just some imagery to take with you into Shavasana as you let go of control of your breath. You can visualize that beautiful, clean northwest rain, cleansing the air and nourishing the earth. Let your breath lengthen. Wake yourself up in any way that feels good by stretching your hands and feet or moving your head, swallowing. When you're ready, roll to your right side and take a breath there before you come up and join me for just a moment in a seat. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here, for taking this time for yourselves. I wish you a healthy and sweet week with whatever relief and ease you need. Namaste. Going to turn off the recording now and you can unmute yourselves.